Well, here I sit, high getting ideas. Ain't nothing but a fool would live like this. Out all night and running wild. Mama at home with a month-old child. Well, dang me, dang me. They ought to take a rope and hang me high from the highest tree. Woman, won't you wait for me? Boop, 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 doo, 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 doo. Just sitting around drinking with the guys. 6 rounds bought, but I bought 5. Went out with the groceries and half the rent. Spent $14.27. Well, dang me, dang me. They ought to take a rope and hang me high from the highest tree. A woman, won't you weep for me? Boop, 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 doo, 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 doo. What is going on, everybody? How are we doing? I hope we are doing well. My cat decided to knock over my wife's favorite glass vase that she just put flowers in. So, there's that. There's that. Well, roses are red and violets are purple. Sugar is sweet and so is maple syrup. Well, I'm the 7th out of 7 sons. My father was a pistol. I'm a son of a gun. Well, dang me. They ought to take a rope and hang me high from the highest tree. My fishes won't wait for me. Boop, 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 ba-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. All right. So noticed aquarium products went up 10% across the board. Yeah, they're going to go up more. They're going to roll it out and it'll be a 10% and then a 20%, might even hit up to 30%. We don't know yet. But I just had a conversation with a couple store owners and it'll definitely be telling to see who has like the best American made inventory, so to speak. If they're selling like all extreme and they're buying from local Florida farms, for instance, their prices shouldn't change too much. Shipping is going up a little bit just because of all that. But yeah, like Aquarium Co-op, like they import a lot and they make a lot of stuff in China where they slap their name on it and they may make alterations to things. And yeah, that's been like the cheap name of the game. And you outsource your labor, you outsource your factories. We've been doing that for a long time, not just in the aquarium hobby, but obviously everywhere. But things like the dollar per gallon sale, I was told that they have been told regionally, Petco and PetSmart, at least the PetSmart manager that I spoke with, who's the regional head for the area, he allows me to film in there on the DL. I shouldn't say which area because actually there's 3 areas that I'm near regionally that like all kind of meet. There's like South Sound, North Sound, and Central Sound. Anyways, I'm not going to say which one I actually frequent and know the guy well at, but I grew up with him and he basically said like, and he was excited because he said that they lose money on the dollar per gallon sale or the 50% off sale. But now the thing is, so Aquarium as a brand, all those dollar per gallon tanks, they import glass made in China. It's a pretty low quality glass. It's not like a high quality glass, but it's okay glass. Then they import it into the port of San Diego. And then they take it on train down to Mexico. I think it's at Guadalajara. So they're Michoacan, somewhere over there on the central western part of the country where labor is really cheap inland. And they then assemble all the smaller aquariums there, whereas the biggest aquariums are assembled in China by machine. And then they put the other aquariums and glass in that and ship it over. But like the smallest sizes are made in Mexico by hand still. And that's why for a long time, they weren't able to do the dollar per gallon for the smallest size, the 2.5 and the 55, anything above 55. And they've kind of changed some of that. But what he told me is that they're probably not going to do the dollar per gallon sale anymore. They're probably going to do like some other thing, like a starter kit, or if they do that sale, they might have to raise the price of the tanks right beforehand, apparently. So I don't know. We'll see if that actually plays out. But, speaking of that, it's, I mean, they're going to get their money somewhere. They're not going to just be like, oh, shucks, let's take the loss. So, yeah. Let's see. How are we doing, friends? If you didn't know what I was spouting about at the beginning, Nancy B did. And That's why we love Nancy B. She knows that I was singing about you can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. And the song y'all probably know if you're not insane like me and just have like music stashes all over your life. Like I got vinyls in my car. I got vinyls in my pocket. I got vinyls hidden in my under a cap in my tooth so I can listen to music. If I ever get caught doing espionage or something, I can pop the cap off my tooth and listen to a vinyl while they torture me. But yeah, no, it's Roger Miller. He did the trailers for sale or rent, rooms to rent, 50 cents. So a lot of people know him for the King of the Road song, or they may know him from the old Robin Hood animated movie from the 60s that has pendulum swing like a pendulum do. Robbie's on bicycles 2x2. Westminster Abbey, the Tower, Big Ben, the rosy red cheeks of the little children. Anyways, he got a lot of hits if you like old country western / pop country from the 60s and stuff, 50s, 60s, 70s. Anyhow, we're getting into it now. Half-breed stacked cheese. That's an interesting name. Hello. Got a 125-gallon tank, and I'm wondering how necessary a canister filter is. Not necessary. If you have like a lot of Oscars, if you have angelfish, if you have like big fish that poo a lot, so especially like green terrors or red devil or I don't know, archer fish or something that's like a really protein oriented fish, then you probably will want either like a big hang off the back or two hang off the backs or 2 or 3 big sponge filters. That could work. But really a canister filter is going to be your best bet for kind of hiding all that and putting it underneath things and kind of keeping it out of the way and having one system contain all that. And really, if you get like an FX4 or, something like that, you could conceivably not have to mess with it like once every 6 months, really, which I think is worth it. It's like the next best thing to a sump. But no, you don't need one, especially if you're keeping community fish, it's planted. Then everything you do, like the better the light, the less filtration you're going to need. If you have substrate and you have plants, the less filtration you're going to need. The more texture and wood, and if the pH is on the softer side rather than on the harder side, the less filtration you're going to need, because also all those things have antibacterial properties like leaves and a lot of botanicals do. But beyond that, like you'll get the positive bacteria growing. And what's moreover is that ammonia is not as dangerous when you're under 7.0 pH. When you get up into the 8.0 pH, it gets a lot more dangerous. The same exact drop per million of water is 100 times more deadly than it would have been at 6.0 pH, for instance. Fish and football, what's up? Hope you're doing well. Trina Fitzpatrick, Nancy B, hello, and CC, good to see you. CC, good to see you. Sketty Nona, what's up? Chris Howell, what's up, buddy? And then we got, who else in here that I missed? Running Water, Empire of Dirt, what's up, Jeff? Mr. WWBB, what is going on? If aquarium co-op stuff goes up again, you don't think it's worth it? It's close. A lot of people buy from them because they are kind of an independent thing. But they're getting less independent if they're outsourcing all their manufacturing in China and Shenzhen. And you can go on Alibaba and find where they're sourcing their stuff. Now, I don't want to spill the beans too much, but there is a new YouTuber, a new channel who wants to kind of uncork some of these secrets in the hobby that may not be that well known. Things like where massive ingredients are sourced and things like the quality of those ingredients and like how cheap they are. Now, granted, every time that happens, and I'm all for transparency and for people understanding that, but also people need to know like the risk it takes when you say rent a warehouse or build a warehouse and you buy all that stuff up front. And you make the network and the distribution and the fulfillment and the customer service and all that has to go into it. it's not like it's simple. It's not like it can just, you can just be an evil empire overnight. It does take work and it does take risk, and most people fail. So that's not to say that people like Aquarium Co-op and things haven't worked hard or don't earn it or whatnot. But it's easy to see at a certain point when things start getting, higher and higher in price. And to me, it's not the price that matters, it's the profit margin. And if the company treats their employees well, which Aquarium Co-op did when they were here in Washington, do they in Kentucky, where minimum wage is $7.25 out in the county? I don't know. It was $20 here. I mean, $15 here, but they were paying like $20 here, and they had benefits and things. I don't know if all that transferred over there, but even if they are doing benefits there, then that's another whatever $12 they don't need to pay. Plus, the cost of living is way lower there. I mean, you need at least $20 an hour in Washington to be poor, to be the poorest person on the block. You'd have to work 60 hours a week making $20 an hour. And that's still, you're right at the poverty level for our city. It's kind of like Manhattan or San Francisco, or, Miami is also that way. Parts of Hawaii. Anyways, let's not worry about any of that. So check the fish box. What's up? Drifters Workshop. What's up? Yeah, exactly. Drifters Workshop. That's what I was saying. So yeah, the way Aquarium was doing it was they buy the glass from China, and for a long time, if you recall back when there was the lockdowns and stuff, there were actually so many skyscrapers right before that being built in the 2016 to 2019 era. They wanted all the low iron glass. So all the rimless tanks were really expensive to make. And when Aquarium even just wanted low iron, but not like high-end low iron, they were in competition with all the foundries that were basically pouring for sheets of big glass and irregular sizes for buildings. And so not many people wanted to take on pouring glass for aquarium size deals. And so you really had to order like 100,000 of each size, and only a few people in the world can kind of do that. Well, now we've kind of turned a corner on that, and they've gotten new types of glass with new acrylics and polymers and things like that are embedded into it. More silicate is in the glass, and they've actually kind of made what is almost like it's a cheap version basically of the stuff that you would have in your kitchen. And why am I spacing on the name of it? But the stuff that's glass Pyrex that you can't, that's heat tolerant and all that. Well, they're making a lot of different types of glass nowadays for those rimless tanks you see in kits and stuff, where they've got curved fronts, or they're all curved, or two curved pieces. A lot of that stuff is a very thin poured version of kind of like a Pyrex type glass that has a little more flex to it. Is also a little more hardy. But yeah, they were bringing it here. Then they would have had to pay the tariff from China, which is 10% right now, could go to 20. Then any other tariffs that were already there, taxes that were already there, which there were because they weren't under an $800 product. So we have existing stuff on that. And then they would have had to take it into Mexico, and there's probably the retaliatory tariff of 20% bringing it into Mexico, or 10%, or whatever it ends up being, right? And then when they bring it back to the US, I think it would be another 10 or 20%. So it's not going to make sense for them to do that anymore. So it may just be that they don't do that. It might be that they do it all in China and it's cheaper that way. I still think most things in our hobby have enough of a profit range baked in. A lot of doodads, a lot of pumps, a lot of little plastic parts. They're, tenfold profit from when you buy them wholesale. If you can afford to buy 50,000 units or 10,000 units of something, if you can buy whole container ships of that product, you can get them here for enough that, like, even if they put a 20% tariff on it, they can eat that cost and kick it up 20%, and it should be fine. But what we're going to see, I promise you, is people are going to kick it up 22%, 25%, because one, when you scale, things change. You know, you got other issues that come up, or other parts maybe that are coming in that are impacted, or one thing has to wait, and then you got this new bureaucracy of how do we make sure that everything's paid for and taken care of, and like how do we account for this or that, and who's in charge of scaling that, and who put the money aside for that change, and did you update the spreadsheets? There's just stuff that happens, like, realistically. But then there's also, as we've learned from like toilet paper or from paper towels, you see like those products are marked up so high, and every chance they get, they mark them up. And then they don't have to come down, but they do mark them on sale. So I think we'll see prices go up quite a bit, and then we'll see in the next year or two, if those tariffs roll out, that we'll see a big, like, prices go up 30%, right? And that's going to be a shock, and it's going to be bad, and nobody's going to buy for a bit. But then they'll do a 50% off sale where really they're kind of like breaking even. But I think they'll also either do one of two things, and this is important for us in the hobby. If you're thinking about this now, and you can disagree with me totally, I mean, this is my thought, and I don't like the idea of the tariffs rolling out personally. Like, I'm just going to tell you about my bias, because I know some people are going to say, oh, you're getting political, blah, blah, blah. Well, I want to be honest. I don't like the idea of tariffs without a plan in the US already to help the US sector. So, like, if you roll out a tariff on lumber coming from Canada, let's plan to log a bunch of lumber and get those mills up and running in the US, then place the tariff on the Canadian lumber to give that incentive to buy cheaper American stuff or whatever. But to do it across the board, and then to hope that industry scales for all doodads from China. And if you look at a map of who the #1 trade partner is in each state, Mexico, China, and Canada are literally the top three, and I think it's 90% of our states. So it's pretty wild how much that can affect us, whether you like it or not. I mean, hopefully it causes American business and manufacturing to come back, right? And hopefully that's a good thing, and we have a little bit of pain in the meantime. And I hope Trump is right. I hope he's so right. But if that doesn't that doesn't happen, then what happens is the price goes up, and while it goes up, people scale that price and they add a little bit to it, just like during lockdown or COVID times when all things started to go up, and you're like, why did this go up? That doesn't have anything to do with anything. And sometimes there is a hidden reason, like a domino effect, but a lot of times people are just using that opportunity to scale the inflation. Like, tariffs are known historically, whether you like them or don't, they're known to cause inflation. That's just that's not a really debated thing. It's not. Like, look it up. Hey, yeah, Jennifer wants to know, is your leg finally healing? So my leg has been healing. The problem is, most recently, there is the issue that they put iodine on it, which I'm allergic to. Organic iodine that's in shellfish and stuff. That's a little different than the stuff that you buy at the store just to like sanitize things. But iodine that they use during surgery that goes bad, that you need to keep sealed, that's that bright yellow stuff. I'm allergic to that. And they put that on the wraps in the wound on my foot, and it hurt really bad. And I was like, what is going on? And it was swollen, and they were like, don't worry about it. You know, it's probably just irritated. We cut a little bit of the tissue and stuff and had to, whatever, wrap it tight. Well, then I said, this is so bad, I cut it off myself last week. And I looked at it, and I'm not going to show you guys the pictures, but basically what happened is all the tissue that was touching swelled, and the bandages were wrapped so tight that some of the skin died. And so they had to cut away more of the area next to the wound that wasn't even injured tissue. And I feel like this is like a malpractice type thing, as does my best buddy, who's a malpractice lawyer. And I don't want to do all that. I don't have the energy to jump through all those hoops for years, literally. But I'm hoping that they'll at least compensate me for some of this, like in just the money that I owe them, maybe they can help going forward, because I've already maxed out my insurance for the year. So that's how my leg's going. I desperately want to get finished with this leg stuff, because I want to come down to Kentucky at the end of May, beginning of June. And in this summer, I have Milwaukee I was hoping to visit, as well as I was also hoping to visit St. Louis, and then the possibility of visiting Florida again. So I have a host of things that I would really like to do, and clubs that I'd like to come talk to. But right now I can't fly as of the blood clot threat with everything in my leg. And it's just getting really, really old. And all of this has been dragged out longer. Does Discord allow you to sell fish? That's a good question. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know. There's a buy and sell trade section, fish and football. Yeah, I don't know how that works officially with the rules. I know people do it, but I haven't looked into it for my own. I don't have a problem if people want to do it responsibly. I mean, like, especially in the paid part of mine, where I know everybody is serious, and like, I mean, if you can't pay $1.99 to be a part of a community or whatever, you definitely don't have the money to be spending 60, 70 bucks to overnight fishers to yourself. Like, you should get your priorities worked out. And I'm not saying that, like, I'm just saying, like, don't be giving a YouTube channel money if a $1.99 or $2.99 is going to break your bank. Definitely don't be buying fish online either. And that sucks, but yeah, it is expensive. I get it, but just watch for free. Enjoy the free show, right? Matt3, what's up? I'm in Canada, and the aquarium trade sucks here. Not as much as supply in the States or the other countries. Yeah, I know. I do notice that the Canadian aquarium supply chain and stuff is seemingly lacking. If you're in Toronto, Montreal, or Vancouver, it's all right. Otherwise, I haven't been too impressed with anything I've seen. There are some good aquascapers and stuff working with what you guys do have, but you are more limited on like the temperate fish and some of the, like, minnows and some of the native plants from North America, or invasive plants. That's a bummer. Let's see here. Let's see here. Can't list on eBay UK now. Yeah. That's the other thing is, in the US, you got to list your tax ID number, your EID, or your social security number. You got to list that all now for PayPal, for Venmo, for, Cash App, any of those things. It's bonkers. There's nowhere left. Cash App. You can't, Kitty. No. Ugh. Chewing on the cables on the back of the computer. You think you're so slick, don't you? You're not slick. You're a jerk, and you broke mommy's favorite vase, and I'm gonna make sure that she doesn't hear about it. We'll just hope she doesn't notice that there was a beautiful bouquet of flowers right here, and now there's nothing. There's not even broken glass or anything. I put it all outside. So guys, how are we doing with our aquariums, though? Enough of the money stuff. Nobody wants to hear any more of that, right? Darbwire says, do you have any experience with Crypt parva? Seems like a great little carpet alternative. It is a cool plant. It is a slow grower, like most crypts. It does carpet, but it takes a while. If you start with lots of little tissue cultures close together, and you do keep it trimmed like every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it works out. But I'd say it's more of like an accent carpet, or if you need to carpet like a ledge, like plant like 2 or 3 next to each other in the crack of a rock or a crevice, it works pretty well for that. Whereas, I don't know, it just doesn't carpet the entire thing that well unless you got really strong light. and you have a lot of small starts to begin with, like from a what do you call it, a tissue culture. Like those are small starts, whereas if you start it from one plant, it's got to run, it's got a mother plant, and you'll get a bigger plant, even though it's still not huge or anything. You'll get that bigger, like 3 or 4 inch plant, and then you'll get the little ones later, but they spread a little bit. It's not like a perfect carpeter. Nirvana Aquatics, what's up? And Stephen P, what's up? Always good to see you. Jody, always good to see you. I saw you earlier as well, but yeah. Fishcapades, what's up? Angie McGee, what is up? Did I scare you with my high-pitched voice? Did I scare you with my terrible singing earlier? You just keep chewing on the back of the wires on the back of the computer, and I don't want you to do that, kitty cat. It's not productive to our life here in this household. And they aim the maze in spirit. What's up? Good to see you. HB, hello. And who else snuck in here? Andre Lang, what's up? All right, let me get down to the Bear. Hello, also. Let me get down here to the Nirvana Aquatics put out a 43 months supporting me here. Sorry, that was loud. Golf clap, golf clap. Thank you so much for that 43 months. They've been an incredible 43 months. You know, we could have basically finished a high school career or an undergraduate degree together with the time you have supported my channel. That is insane. And I thank you so incredibly much. Thank you, Serena, so much. And you've done so much more than that. But big round of applause for Nirvana Aquatics, for anybody who supports the channel in any way. But seriously, like, this is above and beyond, and I really do appreciate it. But the comment, dun, 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 battling cyano in one of my tanks. I let mineral buildup cause an increase in the pH to the point where my plants were struggling and I was still dosing. I have my own methods, but what do you do when you get cyano? Okay, that's a really good question, because I have a crazy case of cyano right now in one of my tanks. And it's not the normal cyano that's like blue-green, like obviously. It's one of the cyanos that looks like green, like neon yellowy green snot. And it almost looks like filamentous or like that slime algae, but it's not. It's actually a cyanobacteria. And the only reason I know that is because of this. I take half of a packet of erythromycin and I rip the packet open and I put in whatever half the recommended dose for fish in that same volume would be. And usually I rip the packet open, get a cup, scoop out a cup of water, 8 ounces of water, put the packet in there, and then stir that up so it's all dilute in the cup. And then I pour the cup around the tank and mix it one time with a wooden spoon like you would in some Kool-Aid. Granted, does that kill a little bit of your good cycle bacteria? A little, probably. Does it desensitize your fish and the bacteria that they may have on them that are nefarious and they're going to come back stronger next time? That's my bigger worry in the long run of the hobby, is like, if everyone's using all these antibiotics all the time, then what's going to happen? But I have to say, it works so well when you dose that, like half the dose. And if it's really tough, 3 days later, hit it again with the full dose. But I hit it with half the dose and I turn the lights off for at least 48 hours. It gets light from the rest of the room, but I just turn its light off. Cyanobacteria is a magical creature that can grow with no light sometimes, depending on the species. And it can live off its fish poo and whatever's in the water, the nitrates, the nitrites. Sometimes it can live off things like lead or calcium or sulfur. It's a crazy, bacteria is a wild thing. But, most of them are not extremophiles like that. Most of them, especially in our tanks, are not going to be doing. Oh, thank you. But Yeah. So that is my favorite go-to these days, and I used to be so against that, but I just am so worn out, you guys, physically with my health and with like when I had 30 tanks running and I had fish in all of them and I was breeding stuff and I was growing stuff for the fish to eat to breed, and then I went to the hospital, and then I was gone for basically 3 or 4 weeks of maintenance. I couldn't even get up and go to the tanks to like do things. I was home for some of that time, but I was laid up in bed, and I just kind of lost the plot on a lot of the tanks. And basically, like, I figured out how they could stay alive on the like life support mode. And I hate that that's been where the tanks have kind of stayed ever since. But literally, like, all but maybe 5 tanks that look okay and that are like pretty full of animals, I've kept those and consolidated the creatures into these community tanks. But whereas I used to have a whole 10-gallon of this betta and another 10-gallon of these baddis and another 10-gallon of sparkling gouramis, now all that's in 120 long, and so the babies, yes, they still get born, they get eaten usually, stuff like that. But because of all that, it's made it so that the care part, I honestly feel like I can't keep up sometimes. And with making content for the channel, with trying to get to the doctor a couple times a week and all the stuff I have to do with my leg, I can't even like shower and stuff. Like, it's so annoying. It's a bit of a challenge lately, and I just I kind of feel embarrassed, but like I would be embarrassed to have you guys come over right now and like look around my house. But in the prescription, to any gram positive antibiotic will work. Erythromycin is the best I've found. That being said, a lot of the other stuff out there will work too, like Seachem Flourish Excel, which has glutaraldehyde in it, which it doesn't actually. Let me rephrase that carefully. Legally speaking, it doesn't have glutaraldehyde, which is a herbicide and algicide. It has a compound that turns into glutaraldehyde once water is added, which is a very interesting like legal gray area, and it's why it's not allowed in California. So yeah, leftover doxycycline. Well, that's a broad spectrum antibiotic, and that would nuke anything in there, but it may nuke your beneficial bacteria literally too. So, if you can't do that, I do have episodes on how to get rid of it. It's a lot more nuanced and a lot more figuring out what your balance is. Like, oh, did my sulfites go up? Oh, did my phosphates go up? Oh, did the iron go up? There's usually some trace mineral that goes up and necessitates a bloom of a certain algae or cyanobacteria. They all have like their kind of sort of, I guess you'd call it like kryptonite of what makes them weak and what makes them strong. And a lot of them have like something that they like as a food, and it just goes up like crazy, when it happens. Can you put general cure in a tank with plants? Well, the problem with anything yes, you can, but use it as prescribed. And also, if you're using general cure, if you're using praziquantel, if you're using no ick or anti-ick or ick out or ick X, any of those products, basically, if it turns blue in your aquarium, it's using one of the greens, one of the malachite greens, one of the other. Is the like button gone? Is it really? I don't know. Just double tap the screen, perhaps, Robert, but I don't know. But thank you for bringing that to my attention. If that's a thing that's different. YouTube's always doing annoying things like that. They used to have it where you have to back out to click the like button, but I actually don't see likes, come to think of it. Wait, yeah, I don't see, like, it doesn't tell me how many thumbs up we have live or anything. Normally it does. That's very odd.
Thumbs up for this guy.
Weird. They can't click it, honey. It's gone. What?
Somebody just said 28 likes.
Oh, 28 likes? Okay, some people are seeing it. I'm not. That's really weird. Yeah, some people aren't seeing it, I think, because I'm not seeing it. But I know that usually you have to kind of back out from chat, then click like. Or sometimes you can double click the screen depending on your device. If that works, great, and I appreciate the clicks. 72. I guess people are figuring it out. It sounds like you guys are figuring it out. But I cannot see it, which is weird. Usually it's right next to my eye. So they must be messing with something. Yeah, just click out of live chat. It should be there. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Calming me down. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. All right. So let's see here. So somebody said, oh, wait, I think you can get certain antibiotics over the counter if you tell the pharmacist the right thing. This is in Ontario. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. So that used to be the case in Washington a lot too. It still is the case where, like, if you want pseudoephedrine or if you want NyQuil that's like actually got pseudoephedrine or anything useful in it, you have to give them your ID and they look at it and they get it behind the counter and you can buy one a week or whatever. But there are certain chemicals, like I know this from back when I was into chemistry as a hobby, just like making stuff in the lab for fun, like a home chemistry kit as a teenager and as like I don't know, 12 to 15 or whenever I was into it. But back then, anyways, we'd have to go to the pharmacist and be like, can we get sulfur permanganate? Like weird stuff that they would, whatever it was, they would happen to have it, but you had to ask from the pharmacist. And a lot of it wasn't even medical. It was just like, that's where you get the chemicals that are somewhat controlled. So I don't know. But I would say that the other thing with Nirvana Aquatics with the cyanobacteria, honestly, a lot of water changes and a lot of manual removal is going to be like your best bet for getting a good jump on it. As much as that is not what anybody wants to hear, it's what everyone knows in their heart after they've kept for a while. But there are certain kinds that are really annoying. Don't ever bother with the kind that are down below your substrate level. If they're down in the substrate, they're not going to be causing harm. And they're probably just on the front of the glass with light. They can't even live. They need the light because they don't have the oxygen. And so they usually need one or the other. And while there are exceptions, most of what's in our aquarium will only be about like, not even a credit card thick on the glass. Whichever part of the glass has exposure to daylight or light of the room, it can grow there. But if you cut a slice of it like a piece of cake, or you take a core out of the center of that substrate and you look at it in a clear tube, it's not in there. It's only right up against the glass. And if it's not already up onto the substrate and spreading, it's not the kind that will almost ever. It usually hangs out there. But yeah, currently doing water changes every other day and using a turkey baster to remove it. I never touch my substrate. It's a super layered and can't be disturbed, or it'll mess the whole thing up. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that. I'll even strip a layer of my substrate sometimes, even though I know that's going backwards and you're like trying to build up your mulm and all that. I will do that sometimes. Yeah. So yeah, maybe somebody could ship it to you on eBay. Yeah. How do you reduce smells from your fish tank? Well, here's the truth. A fish tank that is balanced and healthy for fish should not smell like anything other than wet grass, wet leaves. That's about the extent of the earthiness you should smell. It should actually smell like a nice, like a nice mushroom or like a wool coat that's not wet. Maybe like if you, I'm trying to think of the smell. It's like it's a hummus smell. It should have a smell that almost has a little note of like cedar or like patchouli to it, like kind of this earthy, musky smell. And that is what you would ideally like most of the like icky stuff, the gunk in your filter, for instance. It should smell like that. When it smells like that, you'll know that, oh, that's a healthy tank. When it smells, if it smells like sulfur or rotten eggs, or it smells like waste, like feces, you have an issue there where you have too much waste or organic debris. And it may be that your tank will eventually like correct that or whatever. But really, your tank should not like smell terribly. Fish food gets on the rim of tanks, that smells. Things happen. A fish dies and falls behind the tank. So there's reasons why a tank can kind of smell, or why the area can smell. Leaves or things fall behind and just kind of stay there, dry out, and are kind of that like vegetative rot smell. But really, it should be a good smell. Cyanobacteria also has a very pungent and distinct smell. Once you get to know it, you will never forget it once you've identified it. And you're like, oh, that's the smell. You'll be like, oh, man, get rid of it. I hate this stuff. It'll burn your nostrils. And it has a very specific stinky smell also. That is actually the cyanotoxins, as well as the methane and sulfur, that those are notorious for partnering up with in their bacterial, basically in the layers they create in their protein rich Aufuk layer. And I have a whole video called "Why Does My Tank Smell?" or "What's That Smell?" It's either "What's That Smell?" "Why Does My Aquarium Smell?" or "What Is That Smell in My Aquarium?" But that video goes over the 5 main smells you'll smell in an aquarium that are like common, and like what each one means and how to remedy it, or like the hint of like, okay, that means this, and then you'll figure out what you should do. But I love that I made that video. It's fairly popular, but I wish it were even more popular. I wish I'd edited it better. I should probably remake that video. But yeah, that's one. It should either smell kind of like nothing and water, or it should smell like a little bit good and earthy. If it's smelling bad, you're on the verge of having problems. You may not be having true problems yet, but you're on the verge. Yeah, new game show with Stephen P. What's that smell? Smell my tank. Yeah. Let's see here. So, guys, I want to end now this. Have you tried making a living plant wall above your aquarium to filter it? I saw, wait, where'd it go? Dang it. I saw another YouTuber trying it. Yeah, I've done that. I've actually filmed it as well. I had it at the old house for a little while, where I created pockets, and the roots just essentially went down, and I tucked them behind a wall. So they went behind a wall, and I left like that much space and put a power head behind the wall. And it went in the back of a 40 breeder. And I did that for a while, and that it worked. It was fine. I don't think it actively, the problem is it actively got clogged a lot. Like, you either have to use a mesh or a screen, or the roots become that, and it clogs at the beginning, and then, or at the part with the power head, or the part where the water is getting pumped in. Now, you could do a passive filter in that you do a wall, and the roots hide behind the back of the wall, tuck in through a hole in the wall or whatever, or through a little pocket. And you can do that too, but that ends up usually turning into a root ball. And so while it works for a while, it kind of you'll end up with a brick right in the back that looks like ramen, ramen noodles. So, yeah, it's definitely doable, possible, and it can look cool. I know the way I prefer it, though, is when people make an actual like plants that aren't aquatic plants. They'd make like one of those living wall or moss walls, and then maybe the last row or two they kind of hide or meld with some aquatic or immersed enjoyment semi-immersed plants, something like pothos or something like, peace lily or whatever, something like that. I think that works well. Hydroponic filtration. Yeah, it's definitely a thing that works. And you can do it and it'll be fun, but like long term, it's not like a great setup. Unless you're doing the upkeep too, like trimming the roots, thinning the roots. And that gets where you have to know, like, okay, you have to trace back which plant it's coming from, which one's putting out all the roots, which one's trying to anchor, which ones are feeder roots. And, if it's a root that is smooth, generally that is either a tap root, which is kind of important, but it's more of an anchoring root when it's the smooth ones that kind of like go all over, twisty all over like a wire. Or a cord. And then the ones that are usually a little flatter and they have little hairs coming off of them, or they have branches coming off the branch of the root itself, like where there's little nubs all over it. Those are usually feeding roots or suckling roots. And those are the ones you want to keep / look at. And even on like a Nubius and other plants in your tank, you can look at those and read, oh, my plant is growing a lot of those nodes, a lot of new branches, means that it's seeking out nutrients. And either it's got so much light that it needs more nutrients from the water, or it's maxed out with, or it's doing fine with the light, but it doesn't have enough nutrients from the water. And it's not like more light won't help it whatsoever. You just needs more nutrients because your nutrients are so low. It's not adjusting or anything. So you have to kind of learn to read what phase is it in, because the same thing can occur for a couple reasons. And with the roots getting new nodes and sprouting, they look different on every species of plants, and you got to kind of learn which ones you've got, like an Anubias, a Java fern, Bulbitis hedulata, those kind of things. They look one way in each plant, and when you learn what they start to do under each condition, you can actually then, you don't need to know like how much nitrogen is in your water. Like you can get so good at it that you can guess your nitrates and or nitrites, which would probably be 0 if you know these things. But your nitrates, you can guess by what the plant roots look like. You can guess your TDS by what your snail shells and your shrimp shells or exoskeletons look like. What your leaves are doing, and like if they have yellow or brown on the edges. Now, those things are tricky. All the little guides that have a picture and they're like, this means low potassium. This means low this or that. A lot of that stuff is a little wishy-washy. It's true in terrestrial plants. Is it true in aquatic plants? There's so many factors that, like, a lot of times we want to starve nitrates for red plants, for instance. And do they need iron? That's not what makes them red, the iron, but they do need enough iron to live. So they need a minimal amount of iron, a minimal amount of nickel, a minimal amount of cobalt and cadmium and manganese and magnesium. And then they need a lot of like potassium, CO2, nitrates, nitrites, ammonia, ammonium, these kind of things. So a lot of people focus on that iron because they heard iron and they're like, oh, that's red as an element, so it must be what makes all the plants red. But only in like Alternanthera renicia or Ludwigia super red and Lobelia cardinalis. Those 3 plants are really the only 3 main ones that need iron to produce the red. You can even be low on iron and have beautiful crimson red plants like Rotalas and other Ludwigias. Just by having low nitrates and highlight. So yeah. All right, guys, what is going on? We have a new member, the Arc Knight. Thank you so much and welcome. I really appreciate it. And also, you Shudazi, welcome. Says, good evening, everyone. Nice to meet you. Bentley Pasco, highly recommended to check you out. I've been watching your videos. Oh, well, thank you so much. Welcome to the first live stream of the rest of your life. You're never going to forget it. you're always going to come back, even though I'm never on time, because I have a million excuses for musical uses of wasting your time. And rhyming a rhyme with the last word I rhymed, that's 3 times I rhymed the word rhyme with rhyme. Go to aquarium plant places. I have plants, tanks. I don't mind any vegetative waste in tanks. I do like to experiment. Cool. Kitty time. Yeah, where is the cat? The cat has actually suspiciously left me alone pretty good. Anyhow, guys, what I wanted to show you guys, I went to Moonlight Aquatics yesterday. I did some filming. He got in some incredibly beautiful Borneo loaches that I was just like, jaw dropped. And I hope to drop a video tomorrow of, I think I'll just do like an edit that I'll just call like top 10 fish I'm excited about right now in the hobby or something like that. Because there's a lot of cool stuff that just hasn't been around the hobby before the last 6 months or so. And so I hope we will, I hope that will be exciting. I feel like that's not the most obviously nerdy or educational video, but I think it'll be some eye candy a little bit, and I'll share what I do know about each fish as I do that. Hopefully, it might come Monday rather than Sunday, because I'm also going to another aquarium store tomorrow, and he does have also a bit of stuff that I'm excited about. But things like the little crabs that everyone seems to love, the little ghost crabs. Why is that focusing? Yeah, the ghost crab. Pom-pom crab. There's a new ivory pom-pom crab, which is pretty cool. I'm excited that at Moonlight Aquatics, look at the quality of this. Hold on. Focus. Why can't I get this? I should just pull up my phone. But look at those gold laser cories. Those are $8.99 each. Look at them. They're like electric. So I was super stoked to see the quality of fish he got. Also, his snow white plecos. They're like 2.5 inches long already, and I think he's asking 25 or 30 bucks is all for them. And they're like top notch, beautiful blue eyes, gray eyes, bluish gray eyes. Also, he's got the new ocean blue shrimp that are coming in from Taiwan that have purple eyes. Let me see if I can get a good shot. I think I got one picture that shows their eyes, how cool they are. Yeah, here we go. So if you can see that, I mean, it's a picture of a picture. I apologize. But purple eyes, like bright lilac-y, bright, like purple, like the color in the rainbow, purple. It's purple. Super cool. And those are $4.99. Nobody charges that. I mean, look at that shrimp. It looks so pretty. They're such a solid blue with a black undertone. It's actually okay. Not to get too crazy about it, but to nerd out just a little bit. So I talked to the same people who run this, which is Vin Shrimp. They also do Cat. Really, that's where you are. I knew she was not far. She was literally sitting behind the screen of the computer, chewing on a cord, and I finally heard her. I heard you. I heard you. Anyways, so the shrimp, they come from the bluest shrimp that are out there in the hobby, that are more blue than you've ever seen in years past. If you've seen the shrimp I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. They're beautiful. Those blue dreams, which are being called like blue sapphires or blue oceans or dream blue velvets, they have some name beyond. Have you ever tried to herd cats? Yeah, it's called running a YouTube channel. No, it's called hanging out with your friends at Mardi Gras. Going to a concert. Ever. Honey, I know you want to get on my shoulders, but you can't always be on daddy's shoulders. Yes, cats are dicks. I agree. They definitely are. She is a female, but she still is. Also, um, it's fine, but if you chew the back of the computer again, you're going into kitty jail. Anyways, so yeah, the beautiful blue that you see here, that kind of like, it's almost a sapphire to like a why, I wonder why this camera really does such a bad job of focusing on my phone. But the shrimp here is like this blue that is unreal, and it is because there's a Bloody Mary shrimp that was bred first. Then the blue cells are over a red base, and because of that, it makes it look purple when the light shines through and reflects back up a little bit. So they're actually from the Bloody Mary line, and then they were there were a few mutants of the Bloody Mary line that had blue that looked black on them, and so they bred those into black shrimp, like a rose kind of thing, black rose shrimp. And then they kept going with that until they got the red to be that translucent red and the blue to be the opaque blue. And with opaque blue, true blue is never opaque in shrimp because it's iridophores, which is only crystalline structures that reflect light. It's not a pigment, as in like fish, you know, like just like I've talked about in fish, blue is not a real color under the flesh. It is a color reflected by a bunch of crystals that are all lined up at the same angle to reflect white light at as blue. So yeah. Is that the carbons also? No. So the rose shrimp are different than the black rose. The carbons were from the red line originally. And they are red. They are originally the blue dreams and the cherry reds, Sakura cherry reds crossed together. And they got a very dark black out of that. Actually, some of them are from, whereas the black desert rose ones are from the Bloody Mary or Choco / chocolate wild Neocaridina leg of things. Also, he's got new snails, really beautiful rabbit snails. He's got orange ones. He's got this. He's got that. You know, he's got all this and that and the other. He also has a ton of these right now, which are incredible. The little orange eye autosynclus. These guys are not even, I don't know, not even an inch and a half, but they look like a little pleco. And they've got like a blue hue. I'll have to post some pictures. They're really incredible fish. Here, I got a picture of them moving. They'll be in the video that I edit soon. If we can get this to focus, it'll just give you guys a sneak peek. But he brought them in. They're doing well. I was kind of coming in to check on them. And so I could tell you guys, these are not albinos. They're just, this is the way they look from this collection point in the Orinoco. And there are a lot of different like little brown dusty color ones. There's yellowy ones, and there's even like rusty orange autos of this type. But this one is blue with orange rusty stripes, and it's a showstopper. They're $15, I think, or 11. They're either $11.99 or $14.99. But this is all at Moonlight Aquatics, moonlightaquatics.com. You can get 10% off, blah, blah, blah. I just had to show you guys that, like, I really want those. Also, he's selling 1, 2, 3s, Corys. So C123, these guys with the beautiful yellow fins that Dan had recently. He's selling those. I think he's selling them for $9.99, which is like, what? I don't know how he got that deal, but right now they're a little colored down, not much yellow in the fins yet, but there were a couple in there that did. He also has a bunch of datinoids that are really cute. They look like some Finding Nemo character. What else did I have to share with you guys other than I mean, just these incredible. These are the gold line Corydoras. There's also the orange laser and the gold laser. He has all three. And these are the yellow line slash gold laser. I think they're. I think. Now I can't remember. I'll correct it for the video, but yeah, they're pretty incredible. Plus, he's also got those black Cory Venezuelanas in there, and Schultz's. But I mean, how can you beat that for $8.99? $8.99 a fish. Plus, you guys get 10% off with my discount, which is just Fishtory 10. I think he'll sell out of those so quick. Also, he's got a bunch of wood cats, which are super uncommon in the hobby, at least around these parts. So he's got these for only $10, and they're the beautiful hexagonal wood cat or honeycomb wood cats. They're really cute. They stay small. They like to hide in wood. And these ones are really active, which is interesting. Like, they look way healthier than any I've seen. He also has these new gobies that are lattice species out of China that I don't know if they had a name yet, but they got these cool tiger stripes, and then they've got like a reddish orange tail that you can tell colors up. They got that wicked mohawk of a dorsal fin, 2 dorsal fins actually, and then the watch what they do. Look how they're standing. They're just like chilling at the bar together. They're just bent at the pelvic fin or pectoral fin. It's wild. I just thought that was so cute. I was like, what? You guys just chilling? I could like draw a little cartoon like pint in there. Anyways, so those were cool. He's also got the red eye puffers that are the red tail puffers too. Pretty unusual. They really are red too, and they're straight from the wild, those ones. He also has the Galaxy woodcats, and he has the incredible Ninja woodcats. Obviously, those are cool. Then he has the red-eyed, non-red tail puffers, these ones, that are the red-eye puffer with the yellow. It's like a yellow, kind of creamy yellow splatter on them. Super cool, though. And then the other thing he's got right now he's got Ultim Angels. He's also got those beautiful gold barbs. The what do you call them? Denison barbs, but the gold morph. So pretty cool. Pretty freaking cool. The stuff he had going on. I'm not gonna lie, it was worth missing the live stream. Also, he has a ton of these right now. Y'all would be sleeping if you missed out. Look at that blue and yellow on the tail. So these are all straight out of Borneo. They're wild caught. And he's got a selection. He's also got the Sanipa Super Reds, but check out this. This will be the last of what we look at, these ones. But focus. Come on, camera. Let me get it to focus for you guys, because it's definitely worth seeing the colors in the fins here. There we go. So blue in the tail fin and the dorsal fin. And even though it's not super clear here, you'll see it in the edited, there we go, in the edited video. It's super blue with a golden eye. I think those are $30 a piece, but they're going for 60 a lot of places right now. And he's doing them like literally, he's almost breaking even on some of them. I think he's going to keep that kind right there, because it's just too incredible, too beautiful. The ones that have the orange plus the tiger stripe plus their face has a maze pattern and the blue fins. I mean, they just look incredible. And then these, all these others he's selling, and they look like they might all be the same, right? Well, then all of a sudden, you notice if you're looking at him, he's got them in 3 or 4 tanks. Oh, some of them have polka dots. Some of them only have bar stripes, whereas others have like little tiny stripes. So then we started looking at them and talking to our buddy, Mr. Lowe, L-O, out of Borneo, and he starts telling us, oh, bros, you've got 7 species there. And so what looked to be 3 species when he initially brought him in, he's also got the red species. That's the true zebra Borneo pleco. Right there. That's the NK3 or NK2. I can't remember which one, but they're $30. They're incredible looking. I mean, look at them. They look like some of these are as stark as like a zebra pleco. And then they've got white and red on their tail. And then there's another one that's more like the normal butterfly loach that's more gray. There's a maze pattern, and then there's a stripe pattern, depends on the fish. And then there's the little tiny RoboCop autosynclus that we all know and love too. So, moral of the story is that Moonlight Aquatics.com, check them out and hit that up if that's something you're interested in. Definitely, he's got some incredible deals right now, and I'm so torn right now because a lot of my money really should be going to my health, but I really have wanted to build that 65-gallon tank that I've got that's just doing nothing in the other room, and I so would love to build it up with those Hillstream loaches. I just think that would look so cool. Alex, are the blue shrimp you showed the ocean blue neos at Moonlight right now? Yes, they are. They're the $4.99 ones. They're not the $3.99 ones. The $3.99 ones are the cheap ones, but they actually, I think I took a picture of those. They actually look absolutely great too. But Chang is a dude with connections. He's a young dude. He's got family in China, mainland, and in Hong Kong, I believe, as well as throughout Southeast Asia. Super nice guy. Super hardworking guy. Guy sleeps in the store half the time. And he does all the mailing and everything too. The other thing they have a new batch of that I was really stoked on was they also have they have a lot of Apistos for like $10 a pop, which is great. But they also have the Oppie betas in right now, and I almost got those. I almost got also the Zebra Autosynclus. The Zebra Autosynclus are incredible. I still have the group of those in my big main tank, but that right there is the Oppie betas, and those are a peaceful beta, $40 a pair right now from him. But look at those. Look at the beautiful autosynclus with them too. So those are your typical autosynclus. They'll eat algae wafers, so they don't need to just live on biofilm, which is nice about them. And then, so those are great. I mean, I love them. They're technically autosynclus are a social fish. I think he's selling them for $11.99 or $14.99. And that's like they're $24.99 at the wet spot. So really good prices, and they're coming in at good quality. Like I will tell you, don't buy any of, for instance, the what are they called? The Kubota Rasboras. Those did not come in well. I wouldn't suggest it. He has some of the golden stomach panda loaches still, I believe. Those look great. Oh, he also has some incredible guppies. I hope he has these listed. He may not have them listed yet, but he's got the orange kois, and then he's got kohaku kois with the Dumbo ears. I mean, just super fire looking, where the eyes are so red you can't even tell what's like that the eyes there. And then stop. And then there's also this blue. What was this one? I think I filmed it. Oh, purple dragon guppy, $29.99 a pair. These were incredible too. Almost bought those. I mean, I just want to buy his whole store every time I'm in there. He also has pike cichlids, the giant rainbow pike cichlids. And I was like, oh, I want those so bad. And then he also he does have Australian Amano shrimp, which are the Yamato Amano, which they do look different. So we were looking at them and we were really trying to figure out okay, taxonomically, are we looking at the same species? They are not. Whatever they're catching there, I think it should be its own species, even though they're calling them Caridina pardensis or pardentata. I don't think they should be called that. They've got a red line that runs through them and a different number of articulated overlapping armor, as well as, you know, on their carapace, as well as a way different setup on their rostrum of it's rough on your normal Amanos. It's like a saw if you look really carefully. These it's like one and then none for a while and then one and then, you know, none for a while. So they're different also. Yeah. So those are really cool. Does he have any new? Yeah, and the Amanos that I'm really stoked about, of course, are really the Aquatic Arts Amanos. Like, they're pretty incredible, I must say. So before we wrap things up here, I do want to show you guys the Aquatic Arts stuff, because also I've been talking with Aquatic Arts, and like, let me just lay everything out on the line for you guys. Is there, it's been a little rocky with them. They got a new owner, and he wasn't even like at the place all the time. And then they had like a change in, like, when the old owner left. I don't want to air out too many details, but he left things in a bit of chaos. And so there were all these loyal people that knew their roles, that knew what was going on. And Aquatic Arts was planning on, and we're talking 2 years ago now, was planning on breeding all their own this and all their own that, and breeding shrimp as much as possible. And they bought $1 million facility, and they spent over $2 million on hardware and filtration and all these things during the peak of COVID and lockdown, unfortunately. And business was good. Like, they were able to do that. But then they had Vivi, and then they had Vivi not work out. And the owner just walked away from it all and sold the company to somebody. I don't know if the all the funding was overseas, or like a group of investors, or like exactly how it went down. But there's one guy now who I'm not gonna like call out yet until they have an announcement about it and everything. But long story short, I almost cut ties because I needed the promise that they were going to be the better, or, you know, as good or better than they had been. And there were some real issues there for 2 or 3 of you guys who bought stuff from Aquatic Arts like a year ago, I think it was, as well as with a gift certificate winner, that they just never sent out the info. And it really, like, it was tense for a while. Well, now I have a new manager that I'm coordinating with that works there, as well as another guy who's great that's been there, but his hands were just kind of tied with some things until recently. And they're trying their best over there, and they're not a Dan's Fish, and they don't have the cheapest price of they don't have as cheap of a price as Moonlight Aquatics, or quite the selection of certain things. But I will say that, like, for instance, their crabs. This is where I would go to get crabs. I mean, I would go to Moonlight, obviously, but both places, here and Moonlight, if you want to get my affiliate link deal, at Aquatic Arts now, you can get, somebody asked about Amano shrimp. So shrimp, let's look at the Amano shrimp. And the Amano shrimp, I believe, yeah. So right now it's $8.80 if you bought a single yellow. And these things are electric yellow. I mean, I'm telling you, super electric. And there's like a couple different packs you can buy instead of just a single one. But yeah, I mean, they are really beautiful, and they look this beautiful. You guys have seen them in my tank. And $8.80, use my discount code, you'll get another like $1.10 taken off of that, so you're going to be paying like whatever, $7.50 for these Amanos, which I think is worth it because they get like 2 inches long. Right now, it looks like they may be out of the sun-kissed orange ones. But sometimes if you look and they'll say that they're out like $7.99, like it says that they're sold out right now. But then if we look and see if they have, let's see if it is available. So invert bundles. Let's go here and then see if they have like the Amano. It might actually be out. Yeah, it is. But see, sometimes they'll have the Amano bundle or whatever, and they'll allow you to buy 3 or 4 of a kind, but not that. But yeah, the yellow Amanos are great. The red ones are okay. They're not quite as impressive as the like the orange ones aren't. And then they've got these normal Amanos, which tend to be more on the blue or green side with the red piping. And then they've got the snow white ones, these ones with the opaque white on them that are pretty cool. So I don't know. I think those are neat. Luke, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. You specifically had problems with their crabs. Interesting. Oh, went to private equity. I had many issues for a long time, other than just last year. Hard to deal with at the club level. Oh yeah, they were terrible at the club level. That is for sure. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Aqua Huna, I do have an opinion on them. Strong style. So Aqua Huna, let's talk about it real quick. So actually, before I talk about Aqua Huna really quickly, because they're right in my backyard. I've been to Aqua Huna before they were even Aqua Huna. I can tell you a crazy story. My neighbor, you guys may have seen once or twice if you watch a lot of live streams or my videos, he's got a real deep, raspy voice, and he is Indian, like from Pakistan and Indian. Well, and he's got a bunch of tattoos. He's got like a spider web on his neck and a bunch of like cars and trucks and all sorts of crazy tattoos. His knuckles, his hands, his neck, everything up to his face. So you know him if you saw him on screen, but he's my next door neighbor, and his father was the accountant for Northwest Cichlids, or Pacific Northwest Cichlids, I guess they were called, or African Cichlids Northwest. That's the name, I think. I forget which combo it was. But anyways, they used to be like the equivalent of the Wet Spot, which is now Cichlid Exchange is their wholesale side. But they were up in Seattle, and they were a big place. I mean, they did like some of the most in the whole country. Big enough that they needed a full-time accountant that they were paying like 100 bands a year back in the 80s and 90s. So, I mean, like good money, big business. He wasn't even into fish. He just was their accountant. Then got into fish, and then got his son his son happened to get into fish, and then fell out of fish. Now he's back into fish. We meet, and it's like, oh no way, small world. Well, Aqua Huna also had another member or initial owner, I believe, that is originally from that cichlid place too. So then they started a place in South Seattle called G&H Goldfish. And they called it G&H Goldfish. It was one American dude and one Asian dude that kind of, I think the Asian dude was more of a financial side and fish husbandry, like kind of combo. And then I think the other guy was more of kind of the connections to people and like fish and business, and like had the wholesale accounts and the pet stores in the region. But anyways, they were kind of partners, and you'd go in there, and it was in this dark, dingy basement, and it wasn't that huge of a place, maybe 1,000 or 1,500 square feet. And all the plumbing was done by hand. Like, no shame in that, but I mean, it was all very jerry-rigged, like very just weird, using a chain to let the water come down from one level to the next, like because they didn't have any more pipe or whatever at that moment. Just interesting stuff, and it had that like mildewy and like drains in the floor because I don't know, it might have used to be some other kind of facility, but they are interesting in that they had pretty good quality imports from Asia, but here's what I would say is they don't quarantine at all. and they don't really care about what it looks like. They're really just transshippers. Any place I recommend, whether it's Moonlight Aquatics, whether it's Dan's Fish or Aquatic Arts, any of those three, they sit on the product and look at it for a while. A lot of times when you go into Moonlight Aquatics, he has stuff on the top rack, and he won't list that stuff on the website for like 2 weeks until he's made sure that it's eating, it's putting on weight, its color's fully back, because they come in stressed, And if it doesn't, he won't sell it on the website. He'll sell it at the store, like for a discount, a lot of times, if he can't get it to look its top notch. Now, that being said, Dan has a veterinarian and literally does tests on the water. And if any little microbe or any little like parasites or paramecium or anything shows up, he's on it, and he can actually like diagnose viral diseases and take like cell swabs and things. And it's insane. But yeah, I would say that Aqua Huna is your typical Petco, PetSmart level quality. And that's saying that it could have ick. I mean, their customer service is decent enough that I think they would probably refund you, from what I hear, because Corey doesn't usually shout out and work with, like, get a kickback like that with someone in particular, unless they have good customer service. Like Corey of Aquarium Co-op has a pretty high standard for customer service type stuff. So I think that they've probably changed from what they used to be, which was like a crusty guy in the basement being like, you get out. Like, you don't buy, you get out, which that's how like a lot of the fish business is. No, I'm not trying to like be negative and mean. I'm trying to paint a picture of the realistic way you used to get fish for most of the last 40 or 50 years. If you owned a fish shop, you had a regional place like this, and there were lots of them. And like every 10 to 20, pet stores in a metro area would have a wholesaler or 2 or 3 that would service it like that. And you go there and you got like just 1,000 of this kind of yellow guppy and 1,000 of this blue guppy, and that's all they had. So yeah, it's interesting. I see why he switched to pushing Dan's Fish though more. Corey from Aquarium Co-op. Really good move there, I would say, because I just know, as someone who buys fish from local fish stores, including Aquarium Co-op, including Aquarium Zen, they buy from G&H Goldfish, which is Aqua Huna. And I can't buy there directly without a business license. So they don't sell to anyone in Washington because they don't want to compete with the stores they sell wholesale to. But they supply a lot of the bread and butter fish. So they don't really have that much like weird stuff. It's very common stuff. If you're looking for something to breed, like if you wanted to breed CPDs, I would stay so far away from places like that. I would only go to Dan's Fish at this point for like certain gouramis or CPDs, or even tetras. Like if you want a good quality genetic base that's either wild caught or and thoroughly vetted, as it doesn't have a wasting disease, it doesn't have these genetic inbred issues, like CPDs around the world right now. There are so few farms that have gone and gotten fresh stock from Myanmar due to their civil war. There are a few in Indonesia and a few in Taiwan, and 1 in Singapore that I know of, like 2 in Indonesia, 2 in Taiwan, and 1 in Singapore, that paid as a group to get a bunch of different fish from that Thai border region to replenish some farms. Now, have they sold to other farms over the last year? I don't know, but I remember getting fish side by side when Jason of Redfish Bluefish had his shop open, and you could like look at him, and one had like a humpback and like a sunken belly, and the colors were dull, and the other was just full, happy, swimming around, and that's the way it came in. So I would say Moonlight CPDs, not great. I've seen some okay ones. They're a little young. They're a little underfed and they're a little stressed. They're no worse than Aqua Hunas, but I wouldn't buy CPD if you want to breed them, especially from anyone but like Dan's Fish, honestly. And you're going to pay 2 or 3 times more for those CPDs, but that's just my opinion. There's a total lack of culling, you know, and yeah, I mean, CPDs have just been notoriously bred down into garbage, which is so sad because they're so beautiful. And CPDs, you know, should have a like no less than electric orange, if not like blood red color. And sometimes they'll have a yellow band in with that. And then they'll have a blue background with that kind of bronze color on the females, and then that electric red and gold metallic look on the males. Same with erythromycin or erythromicron. Sorry, guys. The whatever you want to call them, the dwarf rasbora, not the galaxy rasbora, that's CPDs, but the emerald dwarf rasboras. They have the bars on them, and they are in the wild. Their green is like literally very similar to this Dr. Pepper can, where it's like, is that black or is it a true like metallic greenish emerald color? And then boom, you see the orange fiery kind of like peach colored stripes on them. So those have gone downhill a lot too. So certain things, like when you, if you can, go online and look at a video of them caught in the wild, literally scooped out of the water. Go to like Ivan Mikolji's channel or Project Piaba or one of the channels like Ultimate Dreamfish on Instagram, or another place like Below Water, Oliver Lucanis. All these awesome sites that don't get enough traffic. If you go to the places where they show you they're on an expedition, they're collecting fish, and they show you what it looks like right out of the water, and you can tell, like, okay, I'm not getting a true good picture necessarily, but even so, you can tell, like, wow, that fish is like glowing. And that is when you can kind of see what your fish should look like, you know. Same with like a lot of like neon tetras, or the brilliant rasbora versus the normal rasbora. Brilliant rasbora, when you see it next to a normal or sorry, not rasbora, brilliant rummy nose tetra versus a normal rummy nose tetra. You look at the two, and the brilliant one looks like it is lit up from the inside out. It is insane how bright they are. So yeah, I don't have anything against a lot of places. Aqua Huna, I don't have anything against them for your community fish. If you need a schooling fish, cheap fish, you know, phantom tetras, serpe tetras, whatever, skirt tetras, rasboras. Wouldn't use them for breeding stock. Wouldn't use them for an aquascape show tank. And I would quarantine them first. That's what I have to say about it. If you don't want to do all that and you don't want to worry about it at all, Dan's Fish is really the only one that I would totally dump in my tank without thinking again about. And I wouldn't quarantine it even though he says you should quarantine. And Aquatic Arts, Moonlight Aquatics is more of a, I would keep it in a tank, watch it for a week or two. If I didn't see anything, then I would assume it's good to go. I don't even bother deworming at this point. So those are kind of my levels of like, how much do I want to pay for? How much do I want to deal with deworming? Do I want, if I buy something from Petco or PetSmart or G&H, and it's something like a pea puffer, for instance, if I buy a $6.99 pea puffer, I may have to, you know, get rid of the worms that are in that thing and the parasites 3 rounds for 6 weeks before I'm comfortable putting them in with something else. So that is really, yeah, Dan's Fish money, it's a lot. I totally get it. I totally get it. And if you know how to treat fish and you can mend them and you're good with like illness in fish and just getting them better, as long as it's not a congenital, you know, genetic defect that's being passed down, they are, I mean, you can work magic rescuing fish from the big box stores. You really can. And you can look at big box stores in there, for instance, Danio tank, and sometimes you'll find like a Hikari Danio or like a pearl Danio in with, you know, the zebra Danios. Why are so many people buying new fish constantly? Because a lot of people have a lot of tanks. A lot of people set up new tanks. If you have, say, 20 or 30 aquariums in a fish room, and that's, I know people with 100 aquariums, but if you have 20 or 30, and a lot of those are little fish that live 2 to 3 years, I mean, say you have you have a tank, 36 tanks, 3 years. Every month you got a whole tank of fish growing of old age and dying, so you get new fish, and that's if you do things right, you know. So it depends on what you keep, but I mean that's my main thing. But I will say a lot of YouTubers get a lot of fish and they build a lot of scapes and they spend a lot of money on plants and hardscape, and I'm always like, where did it go? Like, you just bought like these crazy whatever, you know, archer fish and this and this and that, and now you have a new tank and it's beautiful and cool too, but it's like, what happened to the other stuff and the stuff before that and the stuff before that and the stuff before that? So I don't know, maybe they give it back to stores. I hope maybe they sell it or take it to a swap. Maybe they just, I don't know, feed it to their cats. I don't really know. But Chance had a really good question I want to answer before we get out of here. Get out of here. Tanks to tires, Tom. I like that name. That's cool. Where are good plant retailers nowadays? That is a hard one. I would say, like, I used to like boost.com, and you know, I don't anymore. I would say like Boost Plant. Last few times I've gotten their stuff, it's been really beat up. And if you can grow tissue cultures, then I'd say, yeah, you can still shop there. You know, they're fine. But if you're not good at converting tissue culture plants to fully potted or underwater plants, or not potted, but fully rooted underwater plants, you're going to lose a lot of money with tissue cultures dying and melting. But yeah, so um, I would say that the best places to buy plants online, it's really like swaps. It's really Facebook groups and people swapping. Etsy, eBay, those are the good ones. You know, for wholesale, waterscapes, and then Florida Aquatic Nurseries, fan. That is who supplies most of the potted stuff. All of the aquarium co-op stuff is going to come from one of those two places. And all of the stuff that you get from Father Fish comes from those from Waterscapes and or Florida Aquatic Nurseries. They're great. They're fine. They rule the industry. They grow outdoors. A lot of it's grown immersed, and I like to grow locally if I can, because then you know it's acclimated to your tap water. It's grown underwater, especially if you're not in like, I mean, if you're in Florida, maybe they grow it immersed. Maybe they grow it immersed in I don't know, Maine, but less likely. And it's much easier to deal with a non-algae, healthy-looking plant that's in just an immaculate, like, Dutch aquascape that they're willing to give you trimmings of. And if you make friends with somebody who's an aquascaper, they should probably offer you some clippings next time. You know, if you just are friends with them and, you know, buy them something special off eBay, for instance, some plant that you know they want, bring them that plant and say, here, I got this for you. I was thinking of you. You know, and then a little later, hey, do you have any trimmings where I could start up my tank? You know, I've got this light, this substrate, and, you know, this skill level. And most people, once you're friends, you know, they're going to help you out, because otherwise you trim, and it just goes in the trash, or you try to sell it to somebody where it holds its value. But if they're your friends, we share amongst each other for the most part. You know, so that's what I would recommend. Chain stores, though, I wouldn't buy anything at them anymore. I mean, the tissue cultures are fine at the big box stores, but other than that, I wouldn't buy any fresh plants. And waterscapes and watercolors is another one too that used to be out there. Then there's all the tissue culture companies. There's Aqua Zen that also shoot, what are they called? Can't think of JBJ, the aquarium building company. JBJ, who makes a lot of like rimless tanks and little lights and stuff. They also do a lot of tissue culture plants, and I believe they're at like 38 species now. And then also AFA, Aquaflora, they do the UNS and AFA kind of do their thing with the tissue cultures, and then ADA, so Aqua Design Mono, is the other big player that I think. Aqua Design Mono has by far the best tissue cultures. Then there's Dennerley and there's Tropica also, which are fine. And they also have now fresh plants from Canada, depending on where you're at. But I would say, yeah. Or you could talk to Luke right there in my chat. Luke Wong, if you want to talk to him, hit him up right there. Vast Aquascaping 1997 at gmail.com. Hit him up, hit him up, hit him up. He'll hook you up with rarities, I'm sure. I don't know any of the other places that people are shouting out, but I would, I hope they're all good. You guys can follow the other ones. I'm only going to speak of people that I know and trust, like that I've literally got stuff from. Luke, I've gotten stuff from. He is a great horticulturalist. I mean, if you can make friends with people like Tom Barr or someone like that, and you can who Luke sees all the time, lucky dog, you can get some interesting plants that no one else has. Oh, Dustin's plants, that's another great one actually to list. He works very hard. Honestly, I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves in the fish world anymore. And he works very hard at bringing in plants and trying to get them transformed to their aquatic state, to their submerged state. It's pretty good, I think. He works hard. He's been around a long time. He really does know a lot. And it's like kind of, all the labor and the all that stuff is in America. It's not he buys stuff from like Nigeria and from Ethiopia and from Nigeria, Indonesia. It gets these plant orders from big regional places that sell the starts or the cuts, but then he grows them out and gets them ready for prime time in his tanks. So I would say that he does a really good job of those, definitely. There's also a lot of Facebook groups that are into plants that you don't necessarily yell about the fact that you're buying and selling, but you're like, oh, I would love that plant, or oh, I have so much of this plant, and people will DM you, that kind of thing. Dustin has kind of a bad reputation socially in the community. Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. A lot of people have, there was the whole thing between him and Corey, and years ago, like 8 years ago, and ever since, Dustin thinks it crushed his channel. I mean, the people who have trifled with Corey have had a rough go of things, that's for sure. And he was one, and he got out of the YouTube and the whole social media game. He was ahead of Aquarium Co-op for 6-7 years. Like, he was in it back when King of DIY and a couple other people were the only people in the aquarium, freshwater aquarium social media game. But now he just wants to deal with the plants. He goes to the booth or goes to events and stuff. he puts on an act, and he still does some shorts and stuff here and there, but he puts on this act of like, yo, I'm gonna talk really fast. I'm gonna sell you some plants, like boom, bada bing, kind of thing, like a Rust Belt good old boy or something mixed with like Wu-Tang Clan. I don't know, mixed with MC. But like when it comes down to it, he's actually a pretty chill dude and not like that at all. Like behind the scenes, not at social gatherings and fish events. And he'll admit that he said that, not spilling a secret, but definitely I think a lot of people can't like the gap in personality or the it feels weird or disingenuous. Yeah, the ShamWow guy, exactly. Yep. But yeah, I mean his plants seem decent. Don't know about his like timing, customer service, all that stuff. Like it was okay, but from what I know, he doesn't have the biggest, he's got like a couple people working for him. So it's not like a bigger company like you'd expect with the Aquarium Co-op or, CChem or anything. Like there's like 4 guys, or 3 guys working together. Yes, King of DIY, CJ. I'm not going to go into it, but yeah, I would have to concur on that. Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. Wait, that's not King of DIY. That's Dustin too. That's ridiculous. He did have a thing that was kind of crazy, which was the last story I'm gonna tell is he actually he wasn't getting along with Corey. And I didn't know this, so I didn't know they had a thing. Like I didn't know anything about the YouTube like behind the scenes stuff. This is when I had just started my channel, so 8 years ago. And I had like seriously like 300 viewers or something, really small. And I said like, hey, can I get any tips? And I'd talked to both of them and been like, can you get any tips? And he came to speak at our aquarium club in Seattle. Dustin did. And they put me in charge of taking him around. And little did I know, I got selected because Corey was like, no way do I want to talk to that guy. I hate that guy, basically. Because they both ran ads on one another's channels. And he used to always end his videos and his ads with tank on or keep your sleeves rolled up or keep your arms wet and your sleeves rolled up or something along those lines. And Corey basically did a parody of him and then bought advertising on his channel, which at the time was a bigger channel than Corey's. And they had it out. They called it like Corey basically laughed it off while it's Dustin turned it into like a shouting match on YouTube kind of stuff. Well, so that all unfolded. I didn't know that had gone on like a month prior, but then he comes into town and he goes, yo, can you take me to Aquarium Co-op? And I'm like, sure. So I call Corey and I go, hey, we're going to come tour your store, but I'm with that YouTuber guy. And I don't really know him that well or anything, but like, he said he'd be cool and everything. And yeah. And so he goes, okay, we'll bring him around tomorrow. I can't, we want to tidy up the store a little bit. It's a little crazy today. Come by tomorrow. We'll tidy up, make it look good for the camera, and bring him on by. And this is when Corey was still in the store and stuff too, and didn't really sell much online yet. And I don't think he sold anything online yet at that point, actually. But we go to all the other fish stores in the region. We see lots of people, and people are like, "Whoa, it's you! It's Dustin!" And he's like, "Hey, whoa!" And he's outgoing and stuff. Then we get to the car, and he's literally like, "Oh, I can't stand people." And I know the feeling when you're out and socializing; it can be tiring. But anyways, so he's like a little tired, a little worn out, and he had told me, hey, I'll film a little promo for your channel for driving me around all over all weekend. Because he also had a few requests, being that this was the Northwest and certain things were legal at that time, brand newly legal. I'm not going to say anymore. had a couple requests that most people would not request of another fish club. You know, oh, can you drop this off or bring this to my hotel? So I took him to a shop in town and blah, blah, blah. But as everyone was doing at the time, everyone visiting our fish club was like, oh my gosh, I can go to the store and buy it. So in anyways, no shade there either. No, I mean, so many people do that. I don't, but so many people do. And I used to. So anyways, he's like just like wanting to chill out, and he's like, we'll film your video later. We'll film your video later. And it's getting late in the day, and I'm like, hey, are we gonna go to Corey's store? Are we gonna go to Co-op? And he's like, nah, F him. I just wanted him to clean up his damn store. And I was like, what? You know, and I had like actually had to play this kind of peacemaker of like, no, Dustin's not gonna try anything. You know, it's gonna be chill. You guys are said your piece, it's over. He just wants to just come film the store. I had to like broker this whole thing. And then I get and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. We're not gonna have time to come by, I guess. And Dustin goes, yeah, right. Like, go F yourselves. Yelling on the phone, like, made you clean your store up for nothing. Like, you should keep your store clean in the first place. Blah, blah, blah. So, and honestly, he wouldn't have done that to any of the other stores. He was very respectful and stuff to everyone else. But clearly they had a beef going on, and I got like dragged into it. And I'm like this wide-eyed new YouTube person. And I was just like, oh man, this sucks. Like, I just wanted to drive this YouTuber that I know around and maybe get to, you know, go visit Corey at the fish store, which I looked up to at the time and stuff, you know. Anyways, that was a long time ago now, but put that long behind me. He built his own company, you know, pretty well, and has his greenhouses and stuff. So we got on a long tangent, but basically he got shadow banned out of existence on Facebook. I mean, it may have just been that he wasn't making that great of content and stuff. The content changed what people wanted. But I mean, he went like, if you looked at his metrics, like on any of the third party sites, it just like dropped off a cliff. He went from like 250,000 or whatever he was at his peak to like, I don't know, like no one watching, like 40 views on videos. It was bizarre. So I don't know what happened. Like that was one of the hardest downfalls I've ever seen. Anyways, who knows? So guys, I think I am going to wrap it up around here. Wrap it up. Just got to a family party. Good night, y'all. Good night, Leak. There's only 2 YouTubers I can watch, KG and the King of DIY. I get a-hole vibes from. I know this. Oh, yeah. I used to watch Primetime a little bit more than I do now. But now I mean, I like it when Jason covers like actual educational, nerdy, in-depth stuff. I love it. And Joanne, I love as a person. She's a sweetheart. John, I think he's always been really nice to me at KG. And Lisa also, she's a sweetheart. She's always been really nice to me. But it's just not usually stuff like, just like they probably wouldn't watch my channel. Like, we just don't want to see each other's stuff as much. Although I try to cover new stuff in the hobby that other YouTubers, in my opinion, should be interested in, because it's breaking edge science that I didn't know a week ago. So I know sure as hell no one else in the hobby knew it a week ago, right? So that's something that, like, I wish there were more fish YouTubers covering the nerdier stuff I do, but I see when you see how badly a lot of it does, no offense to you guys if you like it, but that's why they don't do it. That's why they don't want to cover anything super nerdy, is because it gets like 1,000 views out of 80,000 subscribers, versus a top 10 list easily will get 7 to 10,000 views in a couple days. So that's the no-brainer. And a drama video, or this is it, I've had it, with a face or whatever, that'll get you 20,000 views. You know, arguing on a live stream and saying someone sucks, that'll get you 50,000 or 100,000 views, you know. So yeah, the stuff, the channels that are absolutely brilliant content, like Oliver Lucanis, the underwater channel, Ivan Mikolji, all their stuff that's like real useful. This is what the fish look like in the wild, well edited documentary quality stuff. And 17,000 subscribers over 10 years, you know? So yeah, it's kind of crazy. I want to get back to doing more species spotlights and top 10 videos and keeping them at like 10 minutes. But I like to cover facts that people don't know. I like to do the research that takes more time. I like in the fact that we talked about in that most recent beta video that I did, that the scientific research from 1937, the Latin name was wrong on a tetra the entire time because they had species from Suriname rather than from Venezuela. And somebody threw them all in the same tank, and they gave a black and white, just a piece of paper with pen on it, whatever, blue ink or black ink, description of the fish in the tank, and like the fact that 2 different expeditions came in to that lab at Hamburg at the university. They then had to go by the list, and it turns out that 3 of the fish got mixed up, or 4 of the fish got mixed up. Which species was which? They all looked like black neon tetras basically by the time they were stressed back then. And so that wasn't right, and it wasn't fixed until just now when a paper was published and somebody did genetic research and found, wait, the original paper says that these are only found with these species, which no, they never are found with in modern day. And 2, it said that they could tolerate, the main giveaway was it said that they could tolerate a pH of 8.5, which is nuts for a tetra, like to be flourishing in that. And they're like, what? No, this one dies at like 8.2. I don't know what you're talking about. So then they find this tetra suddenly that lives in all the way up to 8.6, 8.7 in karst water on the Guianan Shield. And they're like, we found a new fish. And then they're like, actually, that's that explanation, or that's the description from 1937. But they just literally mixed up when they took the pictures of the fish. So like, I love finding little details like that. It's interesting to me, and I feel like so often is cited, and they cite, 1937, the taxonomy on this paper, it's solid, it's good, but they never look at it, or it's in some archive that you can't access. And so that's what our Discord's about, is like trying, as we learn about these things, each time I do a video like that, I'm saving the documents and I'm putting them online in a place where people can learn about this and have fun and maybe dig through the stuff themselves and discover new things. So on that note, I'm gonna wrap it up like a nice Christmas Day package. I really need to get a better background here. I need to put up the green screen or something, or make the cat tap dance. But thank you guys for hanging out with me. You're oh so lovely. And hang me. They ought to tape a rope and hang me high from the highest tree. Woman, won't you weep for me? Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. I went out and bought 6 rounds. We bought 6 rounds of beer. Check came along, says 5. Sign right here on me. Dang me. Yeah, I'll take a rope and hang me high from the highest tree. Oh, what's away from me? Boop, boop. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna leave you. Thank you so much for hold on, guys. I don't think we had a new member. I'm gonna celebrate that. I'm gonna celebrate all y'all who liked me, 88 of you or whatever, 90, 100. I don't know. I can't see. And all y'all who hung out, gave me some love, chatted, asked great questions, and all that jazz, and all that jazz on a do. All right, guys. Well, if you want to go out, buy some fish, there's some pretty cool stuff at Moonlight right now. Some cool stuff at a lot of places right now. Dan's Fish too. If you got the money, if you don't got the money, don't spend the money. just come here and talk about the fishes. We have some fun for free. Yes, yes. Okay. All right, guys. Much love. Dun, dun. Pew, pew. All right, guys. I am now signing off. We're now entering the 36 chambers of the Wu-Tang Clan. All right, guys. Have a wonderful night. I'll see you later. Sumi, bring me my driving gloves. Sumi, bring me my driving gloves. Sumi.